Well, good evening and welcome to the last week of class. I will cover briefly here, trying to get full credit for your review and where we've been in the course. You start with 0 points and you earn up to 50 points based on the precision and thoroughness of your answers. So you'll see in the models that I've given you probably enough information, especially if you used quotes in those spaces where there was spaces for quotes, a high B. So if you're trying to earn those 50 points, you'll want to really take your review seriously. Won't be hard to get a C on the review, will be hard to get an A. Just want to give you that bit of advice. And that you will want to make sure you have 4 parts for each of the 3 questions. 1, what you learned from it. And let's say it wasn't a very detailed, what if you didn't get a strong one to review? Then tell me what you learned about what's missing. What kind of excitement do you find in details that you didn't find there? So that what you learn from a weaker final is that vague and general information is not as satisfying as detail and precision. And so speak to me a little bit about that detail and precision if what you're looking for is full credit on the review. Quality of critical thought. Again, if you think it's lacking critical thought, if it seems like it's trying to describe religion as beliefs throughout the whole thing, for instance, then identify why that's a problem. Otherwise, what I've seen so far looks like the quality of critical thought is pretty high. Sufficiency of evidence, give me examples of what evidence you found in there. And clarity. That's a tough one to write about. Have they got significant structure such that they managed to cover the question thoroughly and communicate it clearly to you? And if not, if you think it was meandering and there was lack of sentence clarity, describe it. Give an example. Okay, so earn those points. It's your last hurrah. Where have we been? Well, we began with learning a new way of approaching the study of religion, and it cracks me up to look back at this first week where the assignment point 3 here reads, read Chittister and Keller as described in the syllabus. I'm throwing you into the deep end by making you think about what we are doing when we are studying African traditional religions. I did throw you into the deep end. Chittister is a hard read, and yet I think it set us up for the kind of reorientation of our capacity to even think and understand, what do we mean when we say we're studying African traditional religions? How do you know religion when you see it? And until we can get into that methodological definition work, then you're just recreating what you already expected to see instead of seeing something new. So I think that our methodology will serve you well in the long-term work of being a global citizen, because you'll be faced with making sense of religious lives and the relationship of religious lives to struggles for meaning and power for the rest of your life. Charles Long's approach truly turned the study of religion on its head for those influenced by his work, and not the whole world has been influenced by his work yet. You listen to news reports and they go to describe religion and they'll talk about the beliefs. And I just think, you know what? You're not going to get it unless you have that work, the power relationships, the embodied memories. You're not going to understand how religion works if you're describing it as a bubble. So, by studying work, power, and embodied meaning of religious lives, one can understand just why religious traditions have the capacity of inspiring great acts of courage and great acts of violence. This stuff is deep, bone and blood deep. People are not out there contemplating beliefs in their navels. People are moving across the land and through time, building muscle memory and social meanings that help them determine the ultimate significance of their place in the world. And from that work, they create and recreate. Every time you redo the ritual, you're recreating those meanings by picking up the traditions that work for them, because you're less likely to recreate something that just didn't work for you. So whether you're traveling to a new culture or whether you are looking at your own kin system and local politics, I hope this method of thinking about our humanity will help you to understand others and the strangeness of our world. When we look at the very dense chapters on African religion written by Chittister, he illustrated some strategies that you will want to remember as you continue your work in a research community like the university. He provided a basic inventory of the elements of ATRs. That is a good step. Organize a big bunch of data into a basic categorical inventory when you are studying something as vast as culture. He identified ancestors, homesteads, chiefdoms, ritual specialists, and the symbolisms of evil as the key components of that inventory. But the reason we read Chittister was because his next move, he didn't stick with categories. His next move was to say that the inventory was not enough because it does not begin to suggest how these elements are related to each other. So next he used the metaphor drawing a map in order to depict the relationships. The basic map begins with the homestead at the center and then increasing danger as one heads out into strange territory, approached rivers, or neared wilderness. There are in-between zones, he tells us, that are ambivalent, particularly rivers, because they promise life, but they also threaten as the habitat of river spirits. So you are going to find in life that these thresholds, these liminal zones that are in between safe and dangerous places, those are the places where ritual life happens. That's not enough either, he says. Those maps need to be supplemented by a further analysis of the power relations involved in the ongoing creation of religious worlds. So he identified the hierarchies of power within the homestead, among homesteads in a region, and among regions. As he maps out the power relations, he goes so far as to say that we can see three different religions at work: the kind of homestead religion, the kind of regional political religion, and the religious work of the specialists who can cross both of those territories. All right, so then we moved on to Mbiti. Let's see, where were we there? Just week 2? There we are, there he is. And by reading him carefully, we show him the respect he is due. Mbiti opened us to consider how time worked on the landscape as an essential element for understanding the essence of ATRs. And I think many of us really enjoyed the challenge of thinking about time as a matter of heritage, the past and the present, compared to our modern preoccupation with the future. So it was kind of nice to actually see the world and think the world as though one is carrying kind of a tidal wave of history with you. We then immersed ourselves in Achebe's novel and began to appreciate the daily power of religious meanings. That brought us all the way out here up to week 8. We spent a lot of good time on Mbiti, and then we got to the arrow of God. One could not separate Izulu's role as head of his homestead, regional sacred specialist, political strategist, colonized person, and arrow of God. These are intertwining roles. Hence the importance of our immersion in methods that gave us tools for evaluating the interrelationships and hierarchies in which Izulu's tragic tale unfolded. Achebe helped us appreciate the wit and humor and the importance of rhetoric in an oral culture, as well as helping us to understand colonialism itself as a massive reorientation of the landscape and the significance of African traditions once the colonial conquest was literally mapping out the roads that altered who, how, and where one moved. The road in that story led to the future and away from the heritage of Sasa and Zamani. Then we moved forward Gave that 3 weeks, 3 hard weeks. Do you remember how hard that was, getting into that vocabulary? But you guys did it. We then immersed ourselves we moved forward to a contemporary community and emphasized women's experiences, their networks of power, and again saw a methodology that described religion as all those things that provide orientation and meaning, with vertical and horizontal components, by which these women were related to the overarching cosmology and its appreciation of the feminine counterpart to the masculine creator. So she shows us an entire cosmology in which the feminine figures broadly, and women then, as they are triangulating their meaning, have all the power of Allah at work with them to consider what their own creativity, their own role as creators of life would mean. Learning about women's regional networks that tie them to their families' homesteads, and the waning power of the wives' networks as women began to divide themselves according to religious affiliation, such as if you were Protestant, Catholic, or evangelical Christian, rather than as wives with a common ground. So we're tracking transition, and it is dynamic. Religious traditions always have been. But there was Agbassiere putting her finger right on a very significant transition for women's religious lives. So Chittister, Mbidi, and Agbassiere all mention how important it was to be careful in our representation and evaluation of African traditional religions due to the history of racist and sexist stereotypes. I hope that having read their work, your pictures of African traditional religions are so rich that you are inoculated from the power of Western preconceptions about Africans and their cultural heritage. This does not mean that there are not problems that merit critical analysis on our part. We don't have to abdicate all capacity to say there is something not right in this practice. Even if I'm not from their culture, I want to claim the ground in which to raise a concern, right? But that you will do so with informed frames with which to think critically. And finally, please leave this class with the question, how do I know religion when I see it?